according to you, anything that communicates is art. Okay. I'm not satisfied. I'm just giving my personal opinion. I just think there's something more to it. Yes, I agree that this requires skill, this requires ability, this requires, not doodling, I'm just talking about the conversation, okay? Yes, but there was a word that the gentleman used here, which I'm going to bring in here. He used the word object, and I'm going to just bring that into this frame. So, if you bring that into the frame of what you said, then I have a problem with it. I have a problem with it. I think there's something else. Just try to see if there's something else. Is there a difference between a Picasso or anything, you know, or ball music, you know, or Hindustani music, or the dances from, you know, I don't know if you're from Tamil Nadu, so I'm not using Tamil Nadu-based art forms, but say a form like Kuthu or Yakshagana. You know, you have to agree. I'm not talking about complexity. I'm not talking about grandeur. I'm not talking about all those things. Leave all that aside. There is something different, no, than from that little doodle in the classroom. It's not a question of how beautiful it is. There's something different. Can we try and explore that? Doodling is pretty, yes. Doodling comes from the mind, yes. Nobody can argue these things. But is there something else?
You don't start with a basic structure.
You mean when you doodle?
Yeah.
Okay, I'm going to use that, but I'll use it differently. But it's an interesting point. Anything else? Anything else?
There's a conversation with the larger population and doodle.
If I put it in a gallery. No, I'm just playing contrarian, okay? I just to raise the question. But if I take the doodle and put it in a frame and put it in a gallery.
But then you have to choose which doodle.
Good. Very interesting point. Yes, I'll leave it there. Yes. Yeah.
I would say interpreting doodles or studying that may be an art, but just doodling.
Fascinating. Fascinating observation. Yeah, very fascinating observation. Yeah. Anything else? Come on. Anything else that makes something into the frame of art? Anything else that we can look at? Okay, yeah. I'm going to come to that a little later. Well, we'll bring beauty is more complicated, but we'll have to get to beauty through aesthetics. So we will get there. But, yeah. Taste, okay? Okay, I'm going to flip it on its head and ask you. Okay, one is the raising something to an art form. Is it also possible that the intentionality of that woman who drew that around her home, in a way, is part of why that is called art? Is it possible that the intention that is seen in the drawing on the walls of these huts, because the intention tells you something more than a subconscious scribble, okay? So I'm just saying maybe there is something there that is actually happening that makes it art.
But to be a contrarian, there are a lot of people who write and they would say this is a poem, and yet you can present to somebody else and then look at it and they say, So, but that person who's expressing themselves, that is their intention to create something which is artistic. It might not be necessarily recognized by others.
I think we are confusing two things here. We are confusing acceptance of something in a form, which is the case of your example, and here we are talking about how the form itself has built itself. That is what I'm interested in. That's a complicated word, but there is a certain construction that goes into how the art culture, if I want to use that word, the art has formed in those houses. Okay, and you may still dislike it, by the way. And by the way, a lot of people may still not think it's art. That's an opinion and a judgment, and I'm not going to get there. I'm not even going there, because if we go there, we get into a place of no discussion to discuss this, actually. But I'm actually talking about the intentionality of how that happens. The story that that wall is telling me, okay, or the intention of what it's telling me. What I'm trying to place here is that every art form, art in general, has a certain internal intentional engine, which is community created in general, contextual to, of course, cultures. There is an intentionality that is driven into it. So a certain, shall we say, purpose that happens. It happens through time, it happens through cultures, yes. But there's a certain purpose that happens in it. And this has not got to do with whether you accept it or not. That is not what we're discussing. One person calls it, it can be a bad poem, but it's still a poem. It may not be published, but it's still a poem. There's an intention of writing the poem. And that's what I'm more interested in than rather than the judgment of the poem.
So would you say what you're interested in is the building of a practice so that the person has a sense of practice?
Person or the community? Yeah. Yes. So, yeah, I'm going to come to different types of art forms, and there I'm going to specifically go into these things, into what she suggested also. Okay? But yeah, it's not just a geometric art form, geometric formation.
But the fact that the person who's has a certain idea of what to do.
See, there is some, it could be subconscious. Everybody who's doing it, in the case of the column, everybody need not have had it as a conscious thing, but a cultural consciousness happens through it. Okay? In some cases, individualistic. For example, if you take visual art, there is a visual intentionality built in. The problem with doodling is this. Okay, I'll tell you what the problem with the doodling is. It may be pretty, nice to look at. Okay? But what it does not do is have a purpose of creation that creates a certain identity. That's all. It may still be beautiful, it may still be attractive. Those are personal opinions which we are now going to argue. My only point here is, now, is cooking an art form? Classic case. In fact, cooking is used most of the times. It troubles me terribly that cooking is used in analogy. Okay? Is cooking an art form? Now, cooking is a complex practice. Okay? Cooking is technical. Cooking has pleasure. Cooking has even beauty within course in terms of how it looks, how it's served, all these things. But is it an art form is a kind of a different conversation. Why is cooking always placed with art? Why do you think that analogy always happens? One of the reasons the analogy happens is because the idea of taste. The idea that you can't quantify, you can't actually tell me you put 3 spoons of this and 5 spoons of that, it's going to taste good. Definitely you can't confirm that to me. Whatever the book may tell you, you may still not confirm. So there is this whole ambiguity, almost mystical quality to how a dish can actually become wonderful to a palate. That disconnect, in a way, between what is defined and what you experience floats cooking very close to the idea of art. Okay? But my only argument there is that it doesn't have an intentionality like, for example, painting or column or music or whatever, and each have very different floors that they occupy. So what I want to say here is that we want to use art in a specific context here. We want to use art as a specific medium that is both internal and societal and political. And it is in that medium that we are trying to understand. And yes, a lot of things are beautiful. Yes, a lot of things are attractive. But would they become art is a slightly more complicated question. Any questions here? Yeah.
I can understand the intentionality point you were talking about, like what separates doodling from more traditionally things that are considered art.
Not traditional, it doesn't have to be traditional. It can be even modern. So.
I mean, you said there's some sort of intention.
Okay, I'll be explaining it more after the break when I go to every art form and kind of pinpoint intentionalities of different art forms. My point is that there is, within the construction of various arts, and there are new art forms still evolving. Digital art, for example, is something that's come about in the last, decade? It's a new art form by itself. What I'm trying to say is that when the construction of this art happens, through people, through technology, the paintbrush is also technology, through any kind of technology, yes, it is expression, it is self-expression, it is community expression, but in the process of creating that object, there is an intention of creating creating experience. There's an intention of sharing experience, and that intention is what defines two or three things. One, why that art has evolved, one. Two, how it actually contributes to its socio-political structure and to the community that holds it or the community that you share it with. And in that process, it also constantly changes, because as communities practice it, as diversification happens, the art also changes. So this intention is always almost there. It can be manipulated too. That is human tendencies to do it. But this intention is like an engine. It's like a driving force. So that is why, for example, you have multiple art forms in say, walls of huts. You have it in various cultures. It's not just in Tamil Nadu or in Karnataka or in Africa and in America. So you can see there is something that binds that whole thing. Though they are separate cultures, they probably never saw each other. They have forms different. Everything is different. But the intentionality is something that knits them. This construction I'm talking about. When you doodle, you are creating something that is beautiful. Probably, hopefully. Okay? I hope so. That is very different from what I'm saying. But a doodler can evolve into an artist. That's a possibility.
So a person who paints solely because he likes doing it is not an artist?
Not necessary at all. But a person who paints with the intention of painting. Paints with that whole process that is there. Again, I'm not judging quality of art here, okay? So a lot of painters may not be in a gallery. It does not mean they're not a painter. So the gallery marketplace is not what is defining it, okay? Marketplace judges it. Marketplace decides whether it has value. That's a whole different, bag of things. But the process is something that we're discussing. So an artist, even sitting at home, may not sell one painting. But if you go and ask an artist, why do you paint what you paint? The artist will have the intention coming on what's happening. The inspiration could be anything. And it could be subconscious too, by the way. It need not be very obvious. Even the subconscious works with that. So the whole construction of that art form, I'm talking about its structure, its usages, its frame, space, everything then is kind of modeled and defined based on this aspect. So visual art will have this aspect coming irrespective of traditions of art you look at. Whether it's surrealism or realism or whatever it is, the intentionality is very, very, very similar. Okay? That's all I'm talking about. I'm not talking about any overt expression of it or anything. So anybody who paints for love, they're at home, need not be an artist only because they sell on a marketplace stage.
Intentionality, do you mean having an audience in mind?
No. Okay, again, intentionality, I want to say here, another problem with this thing is I just want to say, so one of the problems in the intentionality is to kind of define one intentionality for all art. That, first of all, is a fallacy. I hope after the break I'll come to that and talk about every art form and look at how we can look at it. But I'm looking at, there is a willed intention, a subconscious willed intention, a community willed intention, and the whole formation is built on that willed intention.
Kind of a selection
Not a selection, but I will just say construction. And the moment, of course, the problems of creating a construction like this, of course, come with the bag. But this intention is definitely what governs structure, what governs form, what governs the idea of what comes together with what. And it is not a closed box, obviously. There's a lot of movement that happens. But it is this intention that drives something into becoming an art object. So it becomes an art object when this intention is the driving force of the process. Okay, that's all I'm saying. And I want to say it right here, all art forms don't have the same intentionality at all. At all. They all work in different spheres. I will talk about every one of them because that's a very important part of the various art forms that you'll be discussing through this course. You will see very, very different ideas of why this art even exists.
Can I ask you a question? Since you talked about doodling so much, I'm reminded
You
of
watch. Sorry. Just to have a good idea of time. Is there a clock here? Oh, there is. Okay, go ahead. Sorry.
Rabindranath Tagore's doodling. And there, I'm sure the exhibitor also has his painting, part of the painting. So did he have intentionality when he doodled?
So you're asking me a very difficult question, which I should answer.
I don't know his intention.
Well, I think that in Tagore's case, there are different parts of Tagore. There is the Tagore, the painter, and there is the Tagore, the scribbler. Okay? And the problem is, in this country, the moment somebody is created to be an icon, we lose every sense of where the doodle ends and where the painting begins, or where the painting begins and where the doodling ends. So that's probably a cultural problem. But I think that we can very easily see in Tagore the differences between how he worked in art, whether it was writing or music or whatever it is. If you look at Rabindra Sangeet, it's a classic case of an incredible musical genre being created with a certain purpose in mind and a certain ideation in mind. So and that, by the way, is a modern creation. So this is not got, and very important here, this has not got to do with old history. The problem when we discuss this in the subcontinent is that very easily this is connected to traditional art forms, rural old art forms. No, I'm not using any of those words. This is of anything as modern as it can get to have similar ideas. And this is why it makes it dynamic, which is why art forms can evolve at any point of time. Okay? Here there's another two words I want to bring in, which I find problematic. So I'm going to place it. The idea of the classical, Vidya, you had a question? Sorry, yeah.
I don't understand why cooking is not considered art, because I just feel that it also has a social political context to it also, because in different areas and in different communities you have different kinds of.
But that would be true of any function of life. Everything in life.
Also, like, it is for certain people about sharing and creating.
My only argument there is, yes, there is a sharing, but that is, if you look at this, all the words you've used is functional to most things that we do in life, right? So whether it is sharing or whether it is sociopolitics, so most things in life will fall into this category. The only issue that I have with calling cooking an art form in this sense is all art forms do one more thing, which I was just going to come to, but I digressed, is the intentionality is driven by a certain direct connection with an emotional experience.
Sorry, say that again.
The intentionality is connected always with an intention of a certain human emotional experience. Okay? So that is why art touches your...
Of evoking?
Of evoking. Okay? Of evoking. So it has a direct... The intention is automatically, any art form is about emotional experience. Every art form. So there is the intention about creating the art object is to trigger, is to enable, even counter emotional experience, sometimes even create trouble. So there is a direct connection to that. Everything in life is an emotional experience. But the intention to create an emotional experience is a very different construction. And art always has that intention. Okay? So even if it is not just about expressing oneself, the expression is also about what it does to the receiver. So in a very odd way, art is not about the creator of the art, but rather than the object that has been created. Right? So art is not about the person who did the art in some way. It's experientially about the object of art that has been created and what can it evoke and what can it generate in yourself and the community around. So if you look at it this way, that's where I have a problem. Because if you take the broader spectrum, then everything, the way I walk, could be a form of art.
So what is the palette? What a passage through which the art can
Express, but because I think there is a fundamental idea of food in functionality of life, kind of makes it a very complicated situation to look at. So, once again, so the whole idea of food begins with the idea of existence, a necessity. And it begins with the idea of satisfying that necessity. Then there is a decoration of that necessity. Okay? And the palette is a decoration of the necessity. But there's nothing that transcends the palette. In art, that also happens. The art experience transcends the subjectiveness of palette also, which taste usually stops at. This construction makes this a little problematic. You can still call it art. I'm not going to argue with you. Okay? No, I'm just saying. But I'm saying that that's everything in life creates an emotion. There's nothing, no human activity is emotionless. So if you look at it in that broader spectrum, then everything is art. I mean, is everything art? So there is no argument there. But in terms of creating an art object as an intention, food creates a problem mainly because of its functional value or the functionality of how it works, and the fact that the palette comes with a decoration of the functionality in its intention of construction. That's all, nothing else. I can't hear you, sorry.
something like this. Suppose there are complex emotions.
Yeah.
Sad plus something else or whatever. And if maybe I could express myself in an art form, and it might even evoke the similar emotions or different emotions to somebody watching it. But I may not be able to do that with food.
No, you can't do it in food.
Is that the point?
Yeah, that's because of the intention of what you do. Because that's what fundamentally the food also restricts you because of the biology of the human body. So there are multiple other things that come into the thing. But that is, you can't have that intention when you create food. You can, of course, put too much salt in somebody's food if you really don't like the person when they come home for lunch. But that doesn't tell you more than your personal animosity towards that person. But I mean, just on a lighter note, that's about where you can go.
Yeah. So based on this intentionality, does everything become either art or non-art, or can there be things that are less art or more?
Very interesting. That's a gray area, I'll be very honest. First, I am not placing art on a higher pedestal. Let me state that, because when you said it like that, I felt a certain hierarchy that bothered me. Okay, I'm not saying art, I'm not saying that, okay? I'm not saying that straight away. I'm just describing something, okay, first. Well, there are certain gray areas. One classic gray area is this form of water sport. They do this, I forget what it's called, synchronized. Now, that's a very interesting area, which has been debated actually in the world of art. Is it art or not? Is it sport? Synchronized swimming is a kind of a group, almost a group ballet in the water. Look, I'm using artistic words because I really don't have any other way to describe it. So there's been this huge debate in the world of art on whether you should call that an art form or not. I think that is still a gray. You need to think a lot about it. I think that there needs to be things.
Whether sport is art or not.
That's a larger question, and that's a philosophical question. I don't want to even go there because then this course won't happen. So,
If it's not too personal, could you share with us your own intention?
I am going to, after the break, I'm going to talk about different art forms, and I'm going to talk about intentionality specifically. I just tried raising two words before I answered her question. I just try and add those two before we break. One is this two words, the word classical and the word folk. Any thoughts? Because those words are also very often used, classical and folk. I mean, those are also words that are very commonly used to describe art forms, music. So, any thoughts about it? You're a social scientist, I'm not talking to you. I want normal people to answer that question. I'm just pulling your leg. I'm just pulling your legs. See, there, look, yeah. But classical, folk. What is classical? Classical, sorry? Tradition, okay. With grammar. I'm so glad you're saying the things that I can discuss.
Classical, discipline, and folk freedom.
Fascinating, indeed. You.
I was just going to throw out there Western and ethnic. Just, you know,
That pretty much, yeah, similar. On the world scale, that probably comes in. Ethnomusicology versus musicology, for example. Folk is simple. Okay. Okay. Can give me a few examples of folk?
Maybe those Samdhari dance.
Mm-hmm. And a few examples of classical. Okay. Anything else?
Yeah, when it comes to classical, there's a theory, there's a structure to it. So folk is more on interpretation and has a lot of people that feel.
Anything else?
That which gets influenced from the elitist part of the society.
Now the social scientists among us. No, but I mean, I'm not going to argue with you, but I'm going to come there. But I've just wanted the.
Folk can become classical when.
True, you're right. I mean, I'm spot on actually. So.
does folk become or is it then deemed?
Very nice. That's a good problematizing his statement, but that's lovely. So yeah, she said, does folk become classical, or is it deemed as classical? I think that's an interesting shade to bring into the discussion. So yeah, so I want to first address some of the answers that we got here, because I believed exactly what all of you said today. That classical is traditional in some sense, that classical has grammar, classical is more structured, classical has theorization, vis-a-vis folk, which is more free, which is more freedom, more casual, does not have the discipline, the rigor. This is exactly how I learned my art form. Okay? And I'm going to say that I agree with both the gentlemen on their social science observation. But before I get to that position of theirs, which is an important position, I think it's important to break it down first. It's a fallacy that folk traditions don't have grammar. Okay? Now the problem is, the moment you think of folk music, you think of just some person casually singing something. Okay? And you think it's casual. Folk